Hello everyone, this is Faisal. Welcome to my channel on understanding finance in sports. Today we'll talk about the finances of the International Table Tennis Federation. A bit of background. The International Table Tennis Federation, the ITTF, is the governing body for table tennis based in Lausanne in Switzerland. The ITTF is a non-government, not-for-profit organization, so it's a private company. It has 226 member states, and it says that it's the largest international sports governing body, and it represents every country in the world. The ITTF recognizes 6 continental federations: India, Asia, Europe, Latin America, Northern America, and Oceania. The fact that India is a continental federation on its own shows you how large the game of table tennis probably is in India. The ITTF produces its audited accounts every year, and its accounts are audited by Mazars, which is an international accounting and auditing company. The ITTF has 4 subsidiary companies. They have the ITTF Asia Pacific, which is based in Singapore, the ITTF North America, which is based in Canada, the ITTF Foundation, which is in Germany, and World Table Tennis Limited, which is based in Singapore. The ITTF's latest audited accounts for 2019 are available on their website, and that is where I got the information for this particular video. The gross revenues and expenses in 2019 of the ITTF are as follows. They had revenues of $23.5 million, gross revenues, against which they had expenses of $23.4 million, and they ended the year 31st December 2019 with a net surplus of $74,000. So effectively, during 2019, they effectively broke even. If we compare that to the results in 2018, their revenues increased by $2.1 million, and their expenses increased by $3.3 million over 2018. The ITTF had record revenues for the 4th consecutive year, so their gross revenues have been increasing every year. We'll have a greater look at the breakdown of the revenues and expenses in the following slides. So let's have a look at the gross revenues of 23.5 million in a little more detail. 16.1 million came from marketing rights, which we shall analyze in greater detail. 4.2 million came from the Olympic Fund. Now, the Olympic Fund is received and released over a 4-year period in accordance with the plans of the ITTF for developing table tennis. In 2019, 25% was released, and a further 6 million is still available for the future. What this means is that the ITTF received roughly $17 million from the IOC, and they deferred that and will be spending that over a 4-year period. In accordance with the budget that they've set themselves for developing table tennis around the world. And in 2019, they released 4.2 million from that fund, and there's a further 6 million that is still available to be released for the future. So they are deferring that income and then recognizing it and releasing it slowly over a 4-year period in accordance with their budgets. They received $673,000 from competition-based income, which we'll have a look at, $277,000 from their high performance and development functions, Equipment approval fee of $1.6 million, and then they had some other income including membership fee, making a grand total of $23.5 million, up from $21.3 million the previous year. If we now analyze the marketing rights income in a little more detail, they received sponsorship income of $9 million from their commercial partners. Television rights and data rights were sold for $6.3 million. Advertising income of $418,000. They received social media income of almost $300,000. Table Tennis X, they received $28,000 and $20,000 from some strategic investments. In terms of Table Tennis X, this is a new form of table tennis, and this was launched on the eve of the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. It's a new form of table tennis with a cool and youthful image and can be played outdoors. It's got separate rules, and it's really to attract a new viewership, and especially for table tennis to be played outside, because table tennis is basically an indoor game because of the wind. So this outdoor form of table tennis, which can be played in the garden or on the beach, for example, has a slightly heavier ball and a different kind of a racket. So it's made for outdoors. It's a new initiative that they are launching. Let's have a look at the income they've received from competitions. Competition income is in relation to fees received on behalf of local organizing committees in relation to entry and participation fee. This includes sanction fees for local organizers to host ITTF competitions. So basically what they're saying out here is that any country that wants to have a table tennis tournament that is accredited by the ITTF has to pay a fee to the ITTF for having that event accredited, and therefore there are obviously certain benefits that the host country gets by having ITTF accreditation. And the competitions that we were talking about for this particular income line item are world title events, the ITTF World Tour, the ITTF Challenge, the Paralympics table tennis. They introduced a World Veterans Tour, and there were some other competitions as well. So they received roughly $670,000 from competition-based income. Equipment approval fee of $1.6 million, almost $1.7 million. Here, income is generated through the approval process for equipment to be certified as meeting the technical standards set by the ITTF, and therefore approving the equipment to be used during ITTF competitions. So here they received $1.6 million for accrediting and approving the table tennis balls, racket coverings, the sort of tables that need to be used, the nets, the flooring, and they charge a fee for testing the equipment. So for example, if I'm a sports good manufacturer and I devise a new form of a racket, or I devise table tennis balls, and I'd like the ITTF to approve that for use in their competitions, then I have to pay a fee, and including the testing fee for that equipment to be certified and credited. So let's have a look at the ITTF expenses for 2019. $9.6 million was spent on competitions. And when we look down the list of competitions, there's the world title events, the ITTF World Tour, the ITTF Challenge, the ITTF World Junior Circuit, and so on. Included in here are also the salaries and expenses of those staff that work on ITTF competitions. $4.1 million was spent on their marketing efforts, and that included the commissions paid to marketing agents and other companies that bring business to the ITTF, direct marketing expenses of almost $600,000, and other marketing initiatives. Sponsorship expenses are those expenses in servicing the sponsors. This also includes the salaries and HR related expenses of those staff that worked on the marketing efforts. Administration of $3.3 million. That's the cost of maintaining the offices and normal day-to-day office expenses like the website, meetings. Professional services probably include legal and accounting and auditing, IT expenses, publications, anti-doping costs, and so on. High performance program and development. This is spreading the game of table tennis around the world. $2.4 million was spent on these development efforts. Member relations is a new department that was set up in 2019 to increase the interaction and relationship and liaison between the ITTF and its members and the continental federations. Governance, extremely important. AGM and board meetings, the executive committee, the office of the president, consultancy, professional consultancy. These are projects which the ITTF carries out to progress the game of table tennis and outsources to third-party experts. Also includes the ITTF Hall of Fame expenses. The ITTF Foundation, $484,000 was spent. This is a new company that was set up in Germany that does CSR related projects. And then there were some other small expenses on equipment and Olympics and Paralympics related expenses, making a total of $23.4 million in gross expenses. If we look at the HR, human resources related costs of the ITTF, there was a gross cost of $4.2 million, which is divided into various expense lines. The employees in Lausanne, $320,000. The Singapore employees, $1.3 million. North America, which the office had just recently opened. Foundation office was also opened in 2019. And then costs related to various service providers who are called in to do special projects. And then the cost related to the ITTF president. So this has been divided by office. They've also done an analysis by department. So management cost was $400,000. The marketing cost was $1.3 million, which we spoke about earlier, and so on. So again, $4.2 million almost on the various departments. If we look at the ITTF balance sheet, they have reserves of $7.1 million as of the end of 2019. They had cash and cash equivalent of $10.1 million, which was down from $14.8 the previous year. They had term deposits of $5.5 million, and they had a museum fund of $2 million. Deferred revenues, we spoke about the Olympic funding revenues which are deferred and then recognized slowly each year as they are spent in accordance with their budget. That was $6 million at the end of 2019, and the museum fund of $2 million. The museum is set up in China, and the ITTF transferred a whole load of museum-related equipment to China for that museum to be set up. And I think what has happened is that the Chinese Federation has given the ITTF a guarantee in terms of cash of $2 million because the ITTF has transferred its own memorabilia and historic stuff to that museum, and so therefore they are holding that $2 million in deposit, and obviously that's not income, so it's being recognized as a fund in their balance sheet. With the reserves of $7 million, assuming that there are no revenues, something happens and the ITTF revenues stop, the ITTF has reserves and cash to operate at the current level of expenditure for 4 months. So it spends roughly $23 million per year, and it's got reserves of $7 million. So it's got reserves to last it for approximately 4 months before it runs completely out of cash. If I had one recommendation to make, I would say that they should increase their reserves so that they are able to operate without any revenues for at least 9 months to 1 year. So they need to increase the level of this reserves, which I'm sure they will in the future. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that short program on ITTF Finances. I look forward to talking to you all again soon. Thank you and bye-bye.